Welcome to IMF Fitness. My name is Dwayne and I'm your host. Today I've got power couple Andre and Tash Barnard. We're going to be chatting to Tash about her pilates studio and how she's managed to take it to an international business where she teaches and influences people from all around the world. We're going to chat to Andre about his life as a professional rugby player, a chiropractor, getting into the corporate world, and what he's up to nowadays influencing people and their mindsets. I'm looking forward to this conversation. This is going to be a learning experience for all of us. Sit back, listen up, and get involved. Welcome back to another podcast. My name is Dwayne. I'm sitting here today with Andre and Tash Barnard. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. Andre, I think we'll kick it off with you. I want to know a little bit more about your history. I want to know how you guys landed up in Ballito. I know you are an ex-rugby player. You played some good rugby, I believe. I can't remember if I got to watch you play, but I probably did. That whole era, I was so big into rugby. I was a schoolboy back then, and we could just list we were so obsessed with rugby those days. You know, you could list how fast the Oaks run the 100, how much he's bench pressing, who he's dating. It was I definitely probably watched you play. Just hard to remember the names back then.
Yeah, no, look, I was definitely more in the wings than on the stage. But so originally I come from Pretoria. Went to school in Pretoria. I come from Johannesburg, and started playing rugby there. Played a bit for the Lions. Played Transvaal back then. It was a Transvaal, so old school. Transvaal under 20 for a few years, and then I played for the Transvaal senior side. And then I decided to pack my car overnight and move to Durban. I just thought that there was going to be a better opportunity here. And I moved to Durban, and I started playing for the Sharks in, I think it was 95, 96, and had a good 2 seasons here. Played under some fantastic players. I was part of a very, very, very strong squad, and that's needless to say why I was in the back, in the back office as opposed to the front stage. But to play with guys like Dick Muir and James Small and Henry Honeyball and Andre Joubert and Cabos van der Westhuizen, and the names just go on.
Those are legends.
Legends. I mean, Adrian Garvey, I know that he himself and Melisa trained with you guys as well.
Yes.
And then I didn't get a re-sign because in 96 rugby went professional. So that was the year that it all went professional. So we were the first intake of contracted players. And at the end of that season, they decided they wanted to put me on loan to Border, and I decided rather to spread my wings a little bit, and I went overseas. I went to America. I got an opportunity to go and study chiropractic and play rugby. So I don't know if it was a well thought out process that I thought I was going to set myself up for a career, or if I just thought I'm going to go to the States and see what the States is all about. But anyway, I ended up there, started studying chiropractic, played a bit of rugby. I was there for...
Were you there in a uni? Obviously.
Yeah. So Life University is a chiropractic college in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. Actually, Marietta, Georgia. And so they obviously only a chiropractic college. And they've had a rugby program for a long time, since early 80s, maybe even before that. And a very good friend of mine who's now running a game lodge in Madikwe, he was out there. And when I was sort of at a loose end, I messaged him saying, listen, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, why don't you come to America and come and study something? So I ended up there, and I was there for 7 months. My plan was to finish my degree there. But with America, I'm sure you know this, you can't work there if you're on a student visa. And it was very difficult to earn money. So I was doing a lot of sneaky jobs all over the place. But I got an opportunity in that time. I had a Welsh coach there who set me up with a club in Wales just to go on the off season and earn some pounds to come back. And I ended up doing pretty well out there and just getting recontracted for the full season. And I ended up staying there. And then I was in the UK, for 9 years. Played rugby for 4 of those years. I retired quite early. I retired when I was 29. Just was in the throes of finalizing my degree, and it just I couldn't do both. Couldn't do both. So I retired and then graduated in 2001 into the chiropractic profession, and then worked as a chiropractor in the UK for a few years. Met Tash in 2002, I think it was.
3 or 4, I don't know.
I'm going with 2.
Where did you guys meet?
We actually, funny enough, my best friend's brother was getting married here in South Africa. So I came out on my own, and Tash was living in London, and she was also invited, quite embarrassingly, by a friend of mine. So he invited her, and I invited myself, and we met at the wedding. And as they say, the rest is history.
Wow.
Nothing happened at the wedding. So I was very respectful of my friend, and Tash and I hooked up when we were back in the UK.
Are you guys still friends?
We are sort of. He did take it quite hard.
To be fair, though, I wasn't dating him. Like, seriously.
I believe you were a guy that you didn't really want to mess with back in those days. Is this true?
I don't know who told you that. I
heard you were quite a brawler. You were someone just, if you looked at someone wrong, is this true, Tash? Or?
Yeah, so I'll have an honest moment here.
Here we go.
When we lived in the UK, I was in London and Andre was in Manchester, and he came to visit me one weekend, and we went out, and there was like a little tough at the bar, and I was like, what is going on here? I'm like this Buddha Macy, I don't put up with nonsense like this, and I was like, cheers, big ears, I'm out of here. Walked out the bar, and Andre and a lot of his South African friends that were in the bar with us all came running out and like just consoled the whole scenario. But yeah, I mean, I guess the answer is yes.
Listen, to defend myself, I'd probably say that I can't defend myself. The reality is that, you know what, if I look back, I was often at the back end or on the front end of some trouble, but I always used to come home and say to myself, I always used to come home and say to myself, I didn't cause the trouble. Yeah. I just didn't appreciate the trouble. Like I wouldn't stand back for it, and whether it's right or wrong. And to be fair, a lot of the times it could have been avoided. Yeah. A lot of times alcohol was involved. And that's why I try now, especially spend quite a lot of time with the younger guys that are a little bit off the rails, because I've been there. So I know what it's like, and I know what goes through your mind.
For alcohol, for me, that was a big problem in my life. When going into university was the first real time, like you had drunk in that in school, you sneak, but in university it's really like, you free now, boy, let's just go have a good time. And I had gotten into way too many fights as well, and it's amazing what alcohol does to the ego. It sort of just puts it on stage, and someone actually said a comment yesterday, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it was something like, don't touch me like this. And if you say that to someone when you're drunk, two big men with egos who are playing rugby and already in the gym scenario and already need to prove, that's enough. Just that little one sentence is enough to just kickstart that brain will just tick over and be like, I'm going to challenge, I'm here to see who's the alpha male. And it is a problem, and it's also like, it's a good thing to hear someone else speak about it honestly, but it's even better for us when we can like reflect back on it. And I think those moments are big moments in our lives because of the lessons that you do learn. And you learn to sort of humble that ego and look after it, and also then identify with substances, first of all, that can ruin it, because how many households do we know that have been ruined by alcohol? And you can just look in your own family. You look and you go, well, if my dad was a drunk and he lost businesses because of this or this or this, and my grandfather was this, and then on my mum's side, it's going to happen to you. You know already. Just stay away from the booze. Find something else, or find another means of doing it. Or the best thing is the moderation, or have it in change the way you drink. Don't drink to just go and get drunk and test it. Have a glass of wine like a sophisticated person with a meal, I suppose. But it's hard. We're South Africans and we love a good party. You need
moderation isn't part of
you
our
need good role models like you, or bodyguards like you. You go have a drink and you like come with a big guy like Andre. So hey, if I get in trouble, you got my back, boy.
Yeah.
No, look.
But can I say something? I also think the reality in the person that Andre is today. We all have a past and we all have a story to tell. Andre grew up without a dad, so he always had to defend for himself as a young boy, moving into his high school career, not making excuses, but also, there came a stage when he realized there's more to life than the life that he was living, if that's what he knew, or the only way of surviving that was available to him. And you said two things that I want to just note here, because Andre read a book called Ego is the Enemy, which really released him from a lot of his own ego. And another book that I know is that he read was Unlocking Your Family Patterns, growing up in an era where he had no role model, where he had no one to lean into or reach out for advice, and made those bold changes. From being able to read a book gives him an opportunity to make good choices for our kids now. I mean, Andre gets to tell the kids about his stories where he's riding his bicycle and then the lebs are coming and, the brothers are ganging up on him and he's this little single oakie. So, not to defend him, but everyone has a story.
I think the reality is we do often step into a space of excuse, because it's natural for us, because we step from being ashamed or being embarrassed, and the immediate option is to make an excuse. But as you go along this journey, and I've been on this journey for 49 years, you actually start realizing that you've got to capitalize on what you've learned, and don't use it as an excuse anymore. Use it as an example. If you can convert that from an excuse to an example, then you've at least learned something.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, my dad, not to get too heavy, but my dad left when I was 2, and he was an alcoholic, and he used to get physical. And so even in 2 years of life, that was ingrained in me. And I didn't realize that until I read this book, because, I'm sure it depends who listens to this podcast. There might be some people going, geez, he was just the biggest arse out, or they understand it. But the bottom line is that was ingrained in me, and I had to take ownership of it. I had to actually take ownership, because until you take ownership of it, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's going to sit there subconsciously. So this fact that, and I don't know the exact numbers, but if I'm speaking to you, you'll hear my discussion at about 350 words a minute. So that's what you're listening to me as I'm talking now. But your subconscious, your self-talk, is talking to you at 1,200 words a minute. So now, here's the argument. You say to yourself, now I've had a few drinks, okay? I can't hear anything anyone else is saying. I can only hear myself talk. And my self-talk might be a little bit slurred, but it's talking to me. Probably now it's 1,600 words a minute. And until you've dealt with the issues or the challenges, your self-talk is telling you what you don't want to really do. So, it's a journey, hey, Dwayne. At the end of the day, I know the past is the past, but the future comes from the past. And it sounds so obvious, but that's where it comes from. So we have to, like a very good friend of mine, always, when I actually officially or whatever became a Christian, when I gave my life to God, he said to me, he was there, my best friend, him and I used to cause a lot of havoc. And he was at the service, and he came to me afterwards and he said to me, you know what, a leopard never changes his spots. It'll be a few months and you'll be back. And it used to kill me. It used to bother me so much, because I thought to myself, how am I going to get this message across? But then I actually realized that we're not called to change our spots. We're not called to do away with our scars. We're not called because that's who we are. We can use those for the benefit of, so if there's young guys out there that are struggling with alcohol and aggression, with drugs and aggression, with an aggression, I could possibly step into that space and speak to them. But that's heavy. That's very heavy.
It's not. It's a great thing to talk about, you know, because a lot of people don't ever get the light switch. And like my favorite people that I've ever met and spoken to, and that are people just like you who've experienced that. You guys are tougher than just having a silver spoon your whole life and come through. You've got that experience, that grit, the know-how, the life experience, you know, like you said, it does shape you, who you are. But it doesn't control your value system or your belief system, which is a whole nother set of, you know, of what makes you who you are. And a person like you being able to sit here and deliver messages like this and change people's lives from your experience. But another important thing I wanted to touch on was like people judging us or anybody, you're only really judged on who you are today for the most part of it. Only your subconscious and your psyche and your insecurities and your vulnerabilities is wondering about your past. No one else is really caring about it and thinking about the history. It's like, if you want to be a good person, just change today. Start being a good person. People, you can see it in even your relationship. You know, I'm sure you guys have, now you all of a sudden have a fight and you're like, but what about what I did yesterday for you or the day before? You're not remembered on it. You've got to be nice now. You've got to be awesome now, today. So it is a positive thing because, and it doesn't take long, which is another thing people should know. It's like, if you are having these problems or issues, you can literally change it tomorrow. It's not going to take 2 years or 4 years, or it's just maybe finding someone like you who's able to give and be the leader that people need, and that role model or that voice that people have, you know, can listen to and gain a bit of confidence, or, you know, hear a story like this and then they change.
No, for sure.
So thanks for going deep. That's good. But let's go back on track. So you came to Natal, finished up playing rugby, did a chiropractic degree. That's awesome. And then what happened there? You met Tash at a wedding.
Met Tash at a wedding. We hooked up in the UK. I moved from, because I started in Wales, I moved from Wales to Manchester, moved to Wigan, and then when I met Tash, I moved to London to be with her. And then we moved together from there to Hong Kong, and we spent a few months in Hong Kong. Tash spent about a year and a bit in Hong Kong. And then we came back to South Africa in 2005, end of 2005, and we got married in 2006. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's it for dates?
I just have to tell everyone, the selling point was Andre phoning my parents and asking them if he could move in with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's hope, right? Good gentlemen out there,
Okay, and then were you guys in Belito then?
No, so we came back to South Africa. So the dream for us was always, we were going to open a wellness center in South Africa. That was always our dream, to come back to South Africa, open a wellness center, and we were actually going to call it the Wellness Factory. Was it?
The Feel Good Factory.
The Feel Good Factory.
Oh, that's a nice name.
And our plan was to go to Cape Town and set something up there. And I came back, went to Cape Town. I had an opportunity to buy into a chiropractic practice there, and got there, and I realized that my degree wasn't recognized in South Africa. So I had to go through an accreditation process with the Allied Health Professions Council. And what I thought was going to take 2 weeks ended up taking 6 months. And I couldn't work because you don't have a license. You're not covered by insurance. Excuse me. So a very good friend of mine who's a neurovascular radiologist hooked me up with a orthopedic device business. And they offered me a job. And since then, I've just been in corporate. I took a sabbatical in 2011 or 12, I think. Went back into practice full time. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But because I'm active and because I'm obsessed with exercise, I found it very, very difficult to wake up every day and go, sometimes treat people that don't want to get better. And it's harsh to say that, but I think that's the world we live in. There's a lot of people that don't want to get better. And I found that very challenging. And it just happened at the same time that the company I was working for offered me another opportunity. And I just thought, you know what, with Tash's own business, me running my own business, you know yourself, high risk. We never went on holiday. We never went on holiday for a long time. And I just said, okay, no, I'm going to step back into the corporate world. And yeah, here I am 14 years later.
Because when I opened up my practice here, it was end of 2012. And you were practicing as a chiro. That's how I met you initially. Yeah. And then obviously training in the gym. But I mean, exercise. how amazing is exercise for your mindset and and people like you and I, and that, you know, just testing the ego and all those things. I mean, just think you had to take exercise out your life, who you would be today, you know?
Yeah, that is not going to be an option for us.
And Tash, tell me, when you were in London and overseas, were you always working in Pilates?
Yeah, so I come from a dance background.
All right.
And then got into Pilates in 2000 actually. And when I went overseas to the UK, I was working in a Pilates studio. And Pilates has taken me places.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Pilates journey, because, you know, if people talk Pilates anywhere here in KZN, it's Tash B will come up. And Tash B Pilates is like exploded. And just in the years I know, I mean, it's just grown from strength to strength, and it's got bigger, and you've just done amazing. And every time I speak to Andre, it's like Tash is in another place, in another, you know, somewhere in the world teaching or learning, which is incredible.
Yeah, thanks, Dane. It's such a God story. It is such a God story. I got into Pilates after doing my ballet and modern exams, and I was actually just always wanted to be a ballet teacher. Like, it's all I never wanted to dance on a stage. I just wanted to work with children and teach people how to dance. But this Pilates opportunity was offered to me, and my friend who got me into it, her exact words to me was, "Go and do this course. It's going to open doors for you." And I'll always be so grateful for her for, you know, just speaking that into my life. And it has taken me places. So the method that we teach and that we host here in Ballito is called BASI Pilates. It stands for Body Arts and Science International. It is a internationally recognized certification, which obviously is giving me the opportunity to go and teach the course all over the world. So I am a faculty member for BASI Pilates. But to keep it local to Ballito, like, every instructor that is in the studio is trained with BASI Pilates, which gives us that caliber and that standard of being internationally recognized. I remember when we moved to Ballito, I was actually held up in Joburg in the short time that we were there, and the medical company Andre was working for back then offered him a transfer to
What do you mean
Durban.
held up? Like robbed?
Like a hijacking, yeah.
Tell us, what happened?
It was 10 days, it's a long story.
Yeah.
10 days after our wedding, on the 19th of December, and we lived in Hyde Park in an apartment, and I literally went and dropped my wedding dress off at the dry cleaners. And I was sitting in 4 p.m. traffic between Hyde Park and Rosebank, and was just followed, drove into our complex, and 4 guys jumped out of a car, gun to my head. One of them kept the security guard down, and it was a crazy thing. They wanted my watch, they wanted my rings, 10 days after your wedding, and it's crazy. Fight or flight, we spoke about it yesterday. I'm definitely a fighter.
She's definitely
so
a fighter.
crazy. You don't rehearse these moments in your life. Like, that is just the reality. You don't rehearse being held up in life, right? But gun to my head, want your watch and want your rings. Took my watch, they tried to pull my earrings off my head, didn't understand what was going on, shaking my head in the car, and I took my rings off, which I'm actually not wearing, but I managed to drop my engagement ring in between my legs and gave him the other band. So for some crazy reason that I saved my beautiful...
Right ring to give away.
Those hard-earned pounds. Anyway, they jumped, the car blocked me in, the guy jumped back in the car, I jumped out of the car, kicked my flip-flops off and started running after the car. I mean, it was just like the most insane moment. Nevertheless, Andre's company offered him a transfer here, so we came and we did a recce for me to open a studio before we'd moved here. And back then, there was no Pilates here. And I remember visiting a few local gyms back then, looking at premises, finding premises actually. And when we moved here, it was my goal to educate the people of Ballito on what Pilates is. And I was just given this amazing opportunity to set the standard, because I knew there would be more studios coming. I believe so much in the method and in the wellness of people that of course it's going to grow. And just very honored to be a training facility for Bassi Pilates, and more than that, serving our community, also giving the students that come through our course an opportunity to fulfill or find their purpose through this vessel of Pilates. It's a beautiful story for me to be part of and see unfold in these young people's lives. And I mean, to date, I don't even know how many students have come through the course just here in Ballito, but we have quite a big footprint within the KZN Pilates community, which is amazing, because the clients are winning at the end of the day. People are getting an education on how to move their bodies, how to shift their minds. Pilates is all about mindful movement. How do you apply your breath to your movement? How do you stand up tall? It's not just doing it, it's how you do it. So, it's just great.
I think it should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day and just being like, imagine you learn basic movement standards and postural awareness in school, and it would almost be graded. Think of karate going from white to black, and it'll be like, okay, learn to do a roly-poly, white, learn to do a flip-flap, green, and it's like all these small things, but Pilates is so essential. And just to touch on your point, I don't even think you know how many people you've helped. Because even people that you've taught to become Pilates instructors, there you've given someone an income or a business or this, and then that person touches how many people's lives and changes them. And Pilates is so awesome because you're getting your movement done, but you're also you're conditioning all the joints. And it's a word that we use often here. It's like, make your joints bulletproof, because once you are conditioned to move, the chance of you being injured is much less. You can't come in and think you can do complex movements or even just be a healthy person and go for a run confidently without knowing that you are conditioned to do so. And something like Pilates just does that. It builds such a good foundation for you to be able to work on. And obviously you pretty much just do Pilates, am I right?
I do.
And I mean, look, you look great and you are fit, which is good. So that's...
You look
I'm
great,
not running fit. Don't ask Andre if I'm running fit or cardio.
How far can you run?
I can sprint. I'm a sprinter.
She's got a great... If you had to see Tash run,
really?
She's got an unbelievable running style. She just doesn't like to sweat. Tash, that's the bottom line.
Don't like
hates.
So Pilates is for someone that doesn't like to sweat.
No. Listen, when I do Pilates,
you better
I sweat.
choose your words wisely now.
I remember doing even a yoga session once in here, and I was like, surely you're not meant to be sweating this much. I'm not even lifting anything, just getting into those positions where your groin is exposed like this and you're sweating. But it's an interesting one. That's going to change with lockdown. And exercise specifically. So tell us a little bit about how you've had to change your business. I know you've gone into the online space, and there's so many people that are in the same position that you and I are in, not knowing how to convert the business, which is a very physical, like seeing people on a one-on-one or even in a group environment scenario, and now with no interaction allowed, it's very difficult to conduct business as usual, and we've all had to sort of come up with a plan B. So it's so fascinating for me to see when someone's really just gone into that space and owned it, because you've done super well. Tell us a little bit about this, please.
Yeah. So Dwayne, I was actually in Russia for 10 days before the lockdown happened in South Africa. So I was very far removed from the COVID, because it wasn't relevant.
I remember Russia just didn't get COVID. We're like, what's going on with Russia? Something sneaky there.
Exactly. So when I arrived back home, I felt like I arrived on a movie set. It was, people have been making decisions, and the schools closed, our kids were on holiday, and I almost went into a state of, is this my life? I remember in my second day of feeling so far removed from our amazing Ballito life and not being able to go to the studio at that stage. Andre putting me in the car and taking me for a drive, and is like, listen, you need to now pull yourself towards yourself and make choices. There are people relying on the decisions that you're making. So I, in that time, decided to close the studio. It was 2 weeks before lockdown was actually announced. And I thought we're going to just have a 2-week break. But then I actually had clients message me and said, please, we need our Pilates, can you go online? And I was like, just give me time to think about it. And I was a little bit I don't know, maybe I just need this time with my family But then I woke up one morning and I was like, I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility towards our community, towards the instructors that are working in that space. And we literally went from a local studio to a global studio overnight. We did, though, for the first week, to iron out all the little hiccups, we offered free Pilates online, gave the instructors an opportunity to teach, and it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Like, there's no judgment in our space. People must come and be who they are, because that's who they are designed to be. And you know, we are a very dynamic team of instructors in our space. So those who wanted to go online got the opportunity to you know, get their courage going, get their confidence going. And within that week that we offered the free Pilates through Facebook, through Zoom, we managed to set it up as excellent as what we would expect clients to experience in the studio. And it worked. So yeah, we set up our schedule. We had very specific, a very specific language and how people needed to set themselves up to avoid the frustration of this whole new, I'm on the screen, you can't touch me anymore, so I don't know if I'm moving my pelvis right, am I not? And we just communicated very clearly with our clients as into how this will work. A lot of the instructors offered their private clients a 30-minute free session, including the setup of their Zoom platform, again, just to get comfortable in that space. And yeah, I'm really excited to let you know that we are in our 5th week of a 3-week lockdown.
5th month.
In our 5th week of in our 5th lockdown period, our 5th, what?
5th of 3 weeks.
5th of 3 weeks lockdown.
That doesn't make sense.
That whatever. So we're like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. We're going into our 15th week of offering an unlimited package of Pilates classes online.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
It's just working. People are just...
Did you have a website already, or did you have to get all this made?
No, so we had a website. We use a online booking system called Mind Body Online. We've been using it since 2012.
I know them.
And Mind Body Online, I have to just credit them. They have been unbelievable. Gavin, that heads up Mind Body Online here in South Africa, was so available to me when I needed the questions of, because I'm not a techie person and I was born in the 70s, so that also, you know, throws me back a little bit. But they were really just so available to help us set up our sessions through Mind Body to make the process of booking and being invoiced easy. Like, it's been a blessing in disguise. And I'm most excited for when we get back into our teaching environment. Our clients now have had an opportunity to see how the booking system works, and we're only going to take our bookings through Mind Body. We'll cut out the admin, intense admin that our receptionist has to deal with all the time, because the client is now responsible for their own bookings.
It'll make a huge difference. We try to do that before lockdown, not knowing about COVID. We've got a system just like that where you actually have to pre-book your slot, but no one did it. It was just like, it wasn't something, and we were like, yeah, I can see why it's a hack. You've got to go on your phone, you've got to click your spot, but now it's forced it, and it actually will show people how easy it is, because it is easy. You know, you on your phone answering a message or setting your alarm before you go to bed, you may as well go in and choose your spot and put. It's actually really simple, and it just takes so much of the responsibility, like you say, from the reception, and even us knowing how many people will come in and be here, so it helps a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of good to actually come out of this, and it will change business. Well, it's changed business, but you know, even in our industries, which has been really rocked, I mean, the fitness industry has been rocked. We've got to think out the box. We've got to do things like what you've done, and I think there's a lot of people that can take a couple feathers from your hat and try. I think the good thing that you didn't do was just like fold over and say, well, I'm just going to see this out. Being proactive is a big thing. It's a big part of it, isn't it, to be successful? You've got to constantly be thinking and be trying and change according to what's going on around you.
I think also, you know, what's so important to me is, so we're a team of 12 in the studio, and to do life with the younger generation is so valuable, because they just, like you guys, I'm talking about your generation.
That's why I train with Dwayne, so that I can train with the younger generation.
Yeah. No, exactly, I get it. So it's just to hear, what is on trend. Can we apply it? Does it fit in with our culture? Is it part of our values? Our social media and marketing girl, Courtney, she actually suggested that we get our YouTube channel going. And this last week, it's actually given me such clarity of how good that channel is, because what's happened now, people are homeschooling their kids, so they maybe can't make our session time, but we'll record the session and load it to the YouTube channel, and the client still has access to a good Pilates session, even though they couldn't be in the live session. So it's like all these little things that are just unfolding and unraveling to the good of the people, because we are partnering with like-minded people. People that want to uplift, people that want to build the brand or a brand. So that's important for me, as relationships. So important.
It is, like the team around you, it really is everything. It's not just a one person that runs the team. You've got to have a good set of colleagues that work with you and bring some valuable input to the party. I'm finding YouTube a revelation, really. It hasn't proved profitable for us just yet, but we only just started it. But thinking about YouTube and looking back and saying, I started watching it when I was studying, and the first guy I saw on there was Joe Rogan, and started following him. So this is back 2005, 2006, 2007, really got a lot onto YouTube. It started getting more and more content of good things. You could find information on there that was super valuable, even with the research and studying and looking into the fitness industry. There's so much on there for us. At a time it was a joke, because we were learning more from there than we were from our textbooks, and it was current stuff. You're learning from the best in the world as they put it out. But you look how successful he's become on YouTube. I actually watched a thing this morning about that deal, because he's just done a deal with Spotify. I don't know if you've seen it. It's $100 million deal that Spotify bought him out now, and he's going to be exclusively on there.
Sure.
And they said that in a 48-hour period, the Spotify had made on just their share price increasing from that news, because he's the number one YouTuber in the world, it was $5 billion. So it was like, that's his actual worth. He's like a $5 billion man. So look, it's all of this stuff, we've got to use it. There's a new era. I think the younger generation coming through, like I was born in the 80s, so it really doesn't come naturally to me as well. We were chatting a little bit off camera now, like for me being on there, it's just like I don't feel like I'm in the real world. I really don't. But more and more people are becoming accustomed to it. And one of my clients travels around the world to surf, and he said to me, I'm so happy you're now finally online, because now when I'm in Miami or Nassau or wherever it is, I can still be. And I was like, that's a good point. And the guys that are finishing school or even still in school, for them it's going to be so natural. They may never step into a gym. And you can see the mindset of people has changed from when we started. There was that big craze, how much muscle can you put on? Let's just get into the gym. And now there's a paradigm shift of wellness. And it's like, it's not about how much, it's about how well you can move and how long you can do it for without being injured. And you don't really need a gym to be able to achieve that. You just need a nice space, consistency, and the right program, and you can do it. So I think there's a big market for us to jump online, and we're not too late. That's also the big thing that I realized.
Never too late. That's
never too late.
Well, when you look how many people are actually online and doing it, there aren't that many compared to how many people there are in the world. And as soon as it becomes easily accessible to all these masses of people around, and when internet becomes easier, because so many people still are not online, just because there isn't cheap and affordable Wi-Fi connection wherever you are. But who knows, with 5G coming and all of this, we may be able to jump on from the Mozambican border or down the road here in Glendale, and you can get on pretty good.
I think just the key word that I picked up from you there is consistency. It's like one of my values that I just go by in life. So just to give you guys courage in your space, just take it slow, let there be substance to it, and it is never too late. You want to make sure what you put out there is on par with what you guys offer in here. It's not just a frantic desperation of, we can't operate, now we need to be online. Are we giving quality? Are we confident in that space? And the right time will come, and you'll be able to continue serving your people that jump online with you from wherever they are in the world.
We're looking forward to it. Let's touch quickly on your family here in Ballito, and how have they managed with the whole lockdown? You know, you've got 2 young kids, don't you?
Yeah. So Asia's 12 and Carter's 10.
Next week.
Yeah, he's 10 next week. They've done remarkably well in the sense of, if you look at COVID, like the whole picture. What they haven't done so well, which probably doesn't sit with them, it probably sits with us, is around the schoolwork space, if I was really honest. And it's just because Asia is very structured, so she's very black and white. She'll plan her day, but she likes people as well. So the challenge of just sitting in front of a screen doing homework or doing work, she'll do it, but she doesn't enjoy it. And she's the type of person that will do it and get to a point where it's just like, okay, I need more than this. Carter, I mean, I definitely don't think he's got ADHD, because I don't believe in ADHD, but the kid can't sit still. And he is literally one of those, like, there's a coffee cup, there's a bird, there's a bird, there's a bird. There's a coffee, there's a bird, there's a bird, there's a bird. And he'll forget that he put the coffee cup down. So,
but he'll also go and look at the bird and do jumping jacks or flick flacks or
so
some kind of fitness thing.
Yeah, so his challenge has been concentration. But I think any boy at his age, I mean, I'd hate to think what I would have done in the same scenario at his age. I mean, my poor mother would probably not be with us anymore if that was the case. But we've done well, Dwayne. You know what? Tash is like, positivity is her number one strength. So that's her default. So empathy is her 34th strength. So I don't know if you know the Gallup strength finders very well.
No.
So it's not my 34.
Or close. I swear it's your 34th. but you get 34 strengths. And obviously you focus on the top 5 and you keep speaking into this, like your hogs, your habits of greatness. You keep working with your habits of greatness to get better at those. Don't focus too much on the weakness. You've got to address the weakness, but don't focus on it. So Tasha's positivity. Like, if I tell Tasha got a headache, she'll be like, get over it. Go drink some water, move on. We need to keep going. So we've just, that's our family. We are get up and go people. And when we're going to cry into our milk, we'll cry and get on with it. So COVID's been tough. Listen, it's been tough for all of us. I mean, Tash has been online, but that online space has more, and Tash can correct me if I'm wrong, it's been more a case of keeping the business alive than earning to live the same lifestyle, if that makes sense. It's literally just to say, we've done this, we can keep the business going. We can still engage, we can still, so it's not like we're online and she's making the same kind of money. It's not at all. In fact, a lot less. But it's been able to keep it alive. And you know what you touched on earlier, and I must honor you, because I've known you for a long time. And I've seen you're a visionary, so you look ahead and you see big things. I mean, I'd hate to work in the space with you, because I'm sure these guys get dragged all over the place. Like, okay, tomorrow we're going to open a gym in Stanger. They must have looked at you and thought, in Stanger? Are you crazy? What? How are we going to open a gym in Stanger? But you went and you made a success of it. But the challenge is, like, in this COVID, everyone's talking about things are never going to be the same again, and we've got to change the way we do things. And I'm sitting going, things won't be the same, obviously. But we mustn't get so fixated on saying to ourselves, things are going to be done differently. We have to look at what we do and make sure what we do, we're doing properly. You know, that's the key. Are you doing it properly? So you might have to go left or right a little bit, but what you do, it stays the same. So your example of you're not comfortable doing that engagement on screen. So a lot of the stuff I do with business individuals, with sharks, is talk around purpose. What is your purpose in life? And people often say to me, I want a job that is my purpose. And I say to them, like, you can't go to a job that's your purpose, but you can take your purpose to the job. So it doesn't matter where you are, you're bringing that to the table always. And I think that's same as, like, a little bit of encouragement again for you, is the wealth of knowledge you have, and Blaze and all your trainers, Craig, all your trainers here, the wealth of knowledge that you have is that you can bring that into any space, any forum, any opportunity, and never be hindered by what that normal looks like, because it's just the same thing done in a different space. And I think that, our family's been great. We've had to adapt, but we're good.
We adopted a little tagline: lockdown, rock down, and roll down. So roll down is one of our Pilates exercises. It's actually the first movement you'll do, just spinal flexion, reaching for your toes. And just to add on to Andre, we started the lockdown doing a countdown of cartwheels, thinking we were going to go back into our previous life, normal life, for 3 weeks. And then we realized, oh my word, we're going to cartwheel for days. So we just canned that idea. But the kids have been great. They would help us set up the studio in the mornings if I'm teaching, roll the mats out, put the laptop on the stand, get the light going. In the beginning of lockdown, a friend of ours suggested the kids start a YouTube Pilates for Kids channel, which they eagerly did, but they lost interest. I mean, they're 9 and 12. But they've continued, and we, as a family, we tried to stay in a routine. Like, the kids were not allowed to go to bed late at night. They're not allowed to slump around in their pajamas during the day, unless it's a weekend, which we don't even do on a weekend. Yeah. But we were just like, these are important things to us. Like, get up in the morning, okay, it's a little bit colder now, but get dressed, brush your teeth, have your breakfast, like show up.
That's a
get
huge
up and
thing.
show up.
The biggest advice I've given everyone as well, to all the staff, but everybody I know, all my clients, I'm like, don't change your routine. If you're waking up at 4, keep waking up at 4. Get up, fill your diary with things that you've got to do, even if it's things around the house. Okay, I'm mowing the lawn from 8 to 9, I'm washing the dishes from 9 to 10, whatever it is, because it just, those little minor senses of accomplishment. Like, I love it being physical. I'm old school. I still have a diary and I literally tick it or highlight it when it's done. I'm like, okay, you can see how many things you've highlighted at the end of the day. Which is so important. Routine. I think it's up there on the top 5. You've got to have that, along with consistency, but the two go hand in hand. Once you have the routine, to be consistent is just so much easier.
No, absolutely.
But guys, thanks so much for coming and having a chat with us.
It's a pleasure.
It's been lovely having you. We're definitely going to have another chat sometime after lockdown, and we'll see how you are and where you are and how far this online has gone. I'm hoping right to the moon. We'll be just behind you. I hope so.
We'll do it back to back. Okay.
And we've got to have another session soon.
Please,
You're looking great though. Have you been training?
Just running.
No.
Have you lost weight?
I have lost. I never weigh myself, so I don't know.
That's a good thing.
I don't know.
I'll tell you why it's looking so good.
Wow, Pilates.
Actually I have. So, we touched on it in the beginning. So, Tash had an injury at the beginning of the lockdown, so I stepped in to help her facilitate the classes, and I've done Pilates every day, 6 days a week during the lockdown. Some days twice a day, some days 3 times a day. So I literally, that's what it's been. It's just been, and I feel like, I can tell you now, I feel incredible.
Those movements are amazing. Like, as I was saying to you as well off camera, how many of the Pilates movements we learn in our biokinetics course, specifically to fix things like back pain, but just to bulletproof the joints, like we had said. It's an amazing foundational program for everybody to do. Like, even before you get into a gym or think that you can come to do CrossFit or any compound lifting or any sports, you need to condition your body to do it. And I think Pilates is a fantastic way of doing it.
Thank you. Thanks, Dwayne.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.